Okay, this is a very vulnerable video for me, but I've been wanting to make it for a while, so excited to share with you guys how I healed my relationship with food. Now, it's kind of a sweeping statement to say, an eating disorder these days, because that can manifest in so many different ways. But what I experienced was something that is typically called orthorexia, or an obsession with healthy eating. This, when I look back on it, really manifested in so many different ways across my life. And it was a huge struggle for me. It was absolutely the most challenging thing that I had to deal with during the years that it was happening. It was something that I actually never thought I was going to get out of. And I'm making this video to show you that you can get out of it, and this is how I did it. So the first thing to realize is that your actions are going to need to change before your thoughts change. Now, when I had orthorexia and obsession with healthy eating, I basically thought about food all the time. It was something that didn't emerge from any specific traumas for me, but if you look at our society, so much of what's just normal everyday activity is actually disordered eating being reflected back at us most of the time, so companies can make money off our insecurities. So when I say our actions need to change before our thoughts, we need to believe that there is a way to get to that normal standard of eating. Now, if you're someone that's never struggled with disordered eating, this is not going to make much sense to you, but basically it can be summed up in the idea that you are almost always thinking about what your next meal is going to be. You are very worried about what the next meal is going to contain. You're very concerned with what time you're going to be eating it, what nutrients are going to be included in it. Some people can really even get obsessed with looking at things like macro trackers. It just encompasses your entire life, and there's really no room for anything else. Now, I realized with the help of a health coach, who I'll get into later, that my actions needed to change before my beliefs did. So I had to tell myself and do what I would do as if I was healed before I actually felt like I was healed. I knew the person that I wanted to be was someone that food was just easy for. Food was no problem. Could go to a birthday party, eat a slice of cake. It was no big deal. When I was in the deepest stage of my disordered eating, that would ruin my life. Having to go to a party and tell everyone, oh no, I'm not in the mood for cake, I'm not in the mood for it. And again, if you've never experienced this, it sounds very foreign, but if you have, please know that I am sending you so much love and care. And again, promising you that there is a way out. You have to acknowledge that there are so many factors in our lives that can contribute to eating disorder. Sometimes it's trauma-based. Sometimes it's just, a specific instance in our childhood. Sometimes it's for no real instance at all. It just could be an anxiety response or a way to look for control in a situation. And again, I want to acknowledge there is a huge spectrum of what disordered eating entails. And the severity that I'm speaking to, I'm sure would be disputed with some people. I'm not a dietitian, I'm just sharing my own personal experience. But that was huge for me, which was realizing that I needed to decide that, okay, I want something different for myself, and then move from that place. So the second key tip is to focus on abundance, not restriction. It's really, really important when you're healing from disordered eating to truly tune into how foods make you feel and try to remove some of that noise that we've basically been conditioned with our entire lives. Again, a lot of people try to tell you the exact right amount of food to eat. At the end of the day, the only person that knows that is you. So try to look at all of your meals, all of your snacks as something that is nourishing for your body. It's something that your body doesn't need to earn. It's something that your body just deserves for being you. A really great way that I found to do this was to focus on making food fun. So what can I add to this meal to make it fun? What textures, colors, flavors, what are some different things that I can test out to make it feel like a fun experience? But again, not to make it feel like this, extremely essential point of my day, because I found when the light of focus was on food too heavily, that only increased the obsession. Food is meant to be enjoyed. It is not meant to be, heavily calculated. And when you're coming from a disordered eating background, you can be so ingrained in that tracking part of food that any of the joy of it is just completely gone. I know when I say focus on the abundance mindset, it can seem really overwhelming. It's really important to remember that you can start small. One thing that I really recommend is writing a list of all of the food rules that you currently have. A lot of these, you might not even know you have them. They might just be something that you watched an adult in your life do and you just did because that's what you learned. You might have learned that you should only work out when you're fasting. You might have learned, yeah, intermittent fasting is a really popular one. People assume that it's just absolutely the most healthy thing for them. And maybe it's time to question, is that actually true for you? If you're someone that follows a diet, so if you're someone that, has been living a paleo lifestyle or a vegan lifestyle for a while, it might be time to question, is this really serving me? Or am I just doing this because I think it's the quote unquote healthiest thing to do? In the abundance mindset, again, think about what you can add to your plate rather than what you should be taking away. So this can be, asking yourself, what would make this meal more satisfying for me? What would make this meal more comforting for me? What would keep me fuller longer? I had a health coach that said she really liked to feel the food in her stomach when she ate it, which I thought was a really cool way to look at it, because we all know what that feels like. And it's something that, especially when you're tuned out from your hunger signals. So a lot of times when people are deep into disordered eating, they don't even know when they're hungry anymore because they're so taken away from that sense. Slowly but surely start to add that back in. Also make sure that you're eating enough. This is a really, really tricky one, especially when you are super concerned with the calories that you're taking in. Make sure you're giving your body enough fuel throughout the day. What will happen to a lot of people is that we're strict throughout the entire day. They get to the evening and then, they might overeat and then they might feel sick from that. So giving yourself consistent food throughout the day is just another great way to bring that abundance mindset back to your life. The third tip I have is to remove labels, serving sizes, and calorie counts. This one was huge for me, especially because it is, again, so prevalent in our society just to see calorie counts. You go to Chipotle, of course, and it's going to tell you the calorie count of everything on the menu. That's just what people do these days. If you're someone coming from a disordered eating background, though, that can be really triggering. So what I did was totally stop looking at any of that. Serving sizes was an especially tricky one because, you buy a package of pasta or something at the store, you look at the label and it says, this is the serving size. So I would eat it, and then if I was still hungry, I felt like there was something wrong. Why wasn't the serving size enough for me? So that is a totally, that number is literally just something that the company is required to have on the box. It's not what's true for you. So really allowing yourself to go back for seconds, go back for thirds if you need to at meal times, and totally not having any idea of what the correct serving size is. I saw a dietitian once had a really cool idea for if you're eating something like a pizza, which would be a really big win for people that are having disordered eating pizza. Instead of slicing it in typical slices, she recommended just totally going crazy with how you sliced it, like doing random shapes all over. So that in your mind, you no longer saw it as, I ate 3 slices of pizza. You just ate some pizza. And it doesn't really matter how much it was, because what matters is you're tuning in to yourself. And this also was really important for me with meal times. If you're hungry for a meal at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you should eat a meal then. You shouldn't, wait, I gotta wait till it's, 5:30 exactly to get my dinner in. If your body's telling you you're hungry now, you should listen to that. For years, I really struggled with, being hungry before I was supposed to be hungry, or, just really not listening to my body, and I would only further the obsession that I had with food. So removing anything like that was super crucial. And then of course, this deserves its whole other own video, but just get rid of your scale. If you have a scale in your house, get rid of it. Our weight is something that can fluctuate so much on a day-to-day basis, especially with, water retention. That can change your weight up or down 5 pounds in the course of, a day or two. Get rid of your scale. So many people really tie themselves to the number on the scale. And while, of course, we know that the number on the scale encompasses so many different things, especially your muscle mass. If you gain muscle mass, you're going to gain weight. But it's really good to have muscle mass for a wide variety of reasons. So getting rid of any kind of scale metric was super helpful. If you're going to the doctor's office, one thing that I know a lot of people do these days is they will turn around when the doctor is getting their weight and say, I'd rather not hear what my weight is, so they don't have any interaction with what that number is on the scale, and that they won't be sent into a spiral if they see that number is not what they were really expecting. My fourth tip is to find a community that is supportive of you. There are a lot of health at every size social media accounts now. I'll link a few in the description that I really recommend. Having people that are on a similar journey to you is really, really useful, especially when you're just kind of getting your toe in the water and separating yourself away from diet culture, which it seems like that's all we're being served on social media these days is diet culture. So if you are currently following, Fitspo accounts or accounts that don't make you feel good, try muting those just for a while and see if it makes a difference for you. You don't even have to unfollow them if you don't want to. I mean, a lot of those influencers who are doing what I eat in a day, do we know that it's true? It could not be true. We don't know. Two, genetics, and there are so many other factors that go into how somebody looks. Following a specific, eating regimen is not going to give the exact same results for every single person, especially if you have a different body type. I could eat the exact same thing as someone else, and we could have, totally different body compositions. So taking yourself away from those, body goals, like image-based accounts, especially even food accounts that are really restrictive, just removing them from your social channels it can really only be a good thing for you. The book Intuitive Eating is, of course, a seminal classic in this field. I haven't, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't read the whole thing, and I'll get into that in the next tip, but that's a really good place to start if you're absolutely this is all totally new for you. Also, consider working with a therapist or a health coach who has an intuitive eating background. The health coach that I worked with, her name was Simi. She was incredible. I would recommend her to literally anyone. She was great. But there are a number of therapists that specialize in that kind of work. And working with someone just to be able to talk through these things is really, really useful. Unfortunately, not everyone. I had some experience with therapists that were less than ideal when it came to this. So just do your best to ask those kinds of questions when you're looking to go on that journey. And my final tip is to expand the kind of content that you're currently consuming. This is not just on social media. This can be books, like TV, podcasts, etc. What is pretty common for a lot of people that are healing from disordered eating is that they'll get so involved in following just, dietitian accounts, just health at every size accounts, just listening to podcasts about intuitive eating, that almost becomes a new obsession, which absolutely makes sense and is really a good sign, honestly, that you're on a path to prolonged healing. But what was really great for me was to actually recognize that there are other things that I can be learning about. There are other podcasts and books, things literally just for fun. And it really can help you to broaden your interests outside of food and to see that there's so much more to life. Naturally, doing that will take you away from some of your food fears. You can recognize that it's going to be likely that you're going to, it's just not going to be a one and done process. Everybody still has their bad body image days. Everyone still has times when they feel, that they've reduced their progress. But just keeping in mind that there is a way out of disordered eating and that you can heal your relationship with food is possible. I am so glad that I did the work that I did to get to where I am now. My life is so much better, and I literally never thought that this could happen, but it can. So if you're struggling with this, know that I see you, I'm here for you. Comment below if any of these tips particularly resonated with you, and I'll talk to you guys next time.